goes to show how incredible Sophie is. So when we were organising this this call to see if Sophie could jump on and do this for us, which is absolutely incredible. We thank you so much. But yeah, it brought up an old message, and it was like the first message that I'd ever sent Soph back when I was like, I think I must have been DBF at the time or something like that. And it was just like a random thing that I'd reached out to Sophie after another training that she'd done. I think she might have been SSC at the time or something like that, but you'd gotten on, you'd done a team training. It was the first team training I'd ever been on. And I'd sent, Sophie a message or whatever, and she had all the time in the world for me. And it was just so bizarre because it like popped up in messages when we were talking about this, and it was just like so incredible looking back and thinking, how much can change in this business in such a short period of time. The people that you meet, the relationships that you have, like cherish those sideline buddies and friendships that you form, because this business, what you can create in this business is truly magical. So that's all I wanted to say. But yeah, and just that we appreciate your time with us, Sophie. So yeah, everyone have their pen and paper ready, because this is going to be absolutely awesome.
Okay, no pressure. I love that. And I couldn't believe it when I read the message from you, and I was like, that was like 14 months ago, and you were like, I don't know what I'm doing. And now here she is, NMD superstar. I was like, oh, you knew what you were doing. Hi guys, thank you so much for having me on. I'm super excited to share with you all tonight, and super grateful that I get to share. So my story is very different to Naomi's, and it was funny actually when I was reading those messages back in our chat back, that actually she was probably in a place of more movement than I was when we had that conversation, which was kind of crazy. So for those of you who don't know me, I'll share a bit about my story. Please feel free to use the chat, ask any questions, and I'll try and cover them as we go, and then open it up to any questions at the end. So if there's anything I don't cover and you're like, oh, I wonder how she does that, or I wonder what she means by that, please do pop it in the chat, and I'll try and cover it as we go along. So a little bit about me. I've been in the business for 4 years now. I hit NMD in October, and it was a real journey. Like, I was a classic example of thinking that I could build my business on wishful thinking. I spent 2.5 years thinking that it was all just going to land in my lap, and that, I would be successful overnight because I was part of the UK marketing plan at the time. And there were people in the UK who were hitting NMD in like 2.5 months. So I came in thinking, well, this is a doddle. I'm going to be an NMD in 6 weeks. I'm going to be a millionaire this year. And I just really, that was my mindset, because there were people around me doing it. Little did I know that those people were working their absolute arses off, and I was sat around, twiddling my thumbs, hoping and wishing. So I've been in the business 4 years now, and like I say, it took me 2.5 years to really kick into gear. So I guess for you guys, if you've been in the business a while and you're not where you want to be, you've been at SC for a year, you've been at SDVF for a year, wherever it is that you are, please have faith that if you stick with it and you follow the principles that your outlines set for you, and if you're teachable and you're willing to learn, that you can still get there. There's people in the business who, said no for 17 years and then joined and are multi-millionaires. There's people who sat at SC for 5 years and are now earning more money than you could even imagine. So everyone's journey is different. Please don't feel like it's a race, and please don't feel like if you've not absolutely smashed the start of your journey that you're not going to find your momentum at some point, because you totally can. So I joined the business because I was 22 years old. I had moved to Sydney, running away from Manchester. I had a broken heart, and I was like, get me on a plane. So I moved. Sorry, one second, I'll let you move. All good. So I moved to Sydney with a broken heart, ran away, and really underestimated how difficult it would be to build a network here. I had a really close group of girlfriends in the UK. I was 22 years old. I'd met my partner here, who was amazing, but he was kind of my whole life at the time. I didn't have any friends outside of, his friends' girlfriends. I didn't have my support network. And as a young girl in a new city, that was really difficult. So when I saw an opportunity to make some new friends, and that was really what it was for me to start with, I jumped jumped on it. It was great that, you know, I was going to be a millionaire in my first 2.5 months, but the idea that I could make new friends and that I could really feel like I was part of something outside of what I had with him really, really appealed to me. And that was the reason I joined, and it was the reason that I stayed even when I wasn't making any money. So, you know, if you are building a community and you have that strength within your team and you have those relationships and you have those friendships, people will stay, and they might not do anything straight away, but if they stay, you never know when they're going to have that aha moment, and you never know when they're going to click in. So if you can create a culture that people want to be a part of, you know, you've got half of it down. So yeah, never underestimate that, because that was what made me stay. So I had no friends. That's my story, basically. I had no friends, and I came to Sydney and I was like, I'm going to do this, and, you know, this is going to be my platform in order to make friends. So I had heaps of excuses though. So I joined, and although my reason for joining was that I wanted to make friends, it was also my biggest hurdle, because for so long, my story and my biggest excuse was that I didn't go to school here. I didn't go to college here. I didn't know anyone. So when my upline told me to go and speak to all the people that I knew, I was like, I have no friends. That's why I'm here. I don't know what you want me to do. Like, I can build a business in the UK, but that wasn't really, you know, what I was trying to set out to do. I wanted to build something here and have that here. So that was always my biggest excuse. And it literally took me 2.5 years to stop that from being an excuse and, you know, allow that to drive me forward. So I had two main excuses. I have no friends here, so I can't build a business, and I don't have a powerhouse upline above me. That was always my thing. So I would look at some of the leaders in the UK because they were my reference point, and I would look at, you know, Sinead Kavanagh's and Emerson Eddens and people like that, and I'd be like, but I don't have that person. So I don't have that person doing events, so I can't plug into them. I don't have anyone like that doing team calls, so I can't plug into them. And again, I allowed that to hold me back for so long. And I guess as I go through the call, I'll sort of help you guys realize what got me out of that and got me into action. And I literally woke up one day and realized that if I wanted to be who I wanted to be within the business, if I wanted to get to where I wanted to be within the business, I had to grow into those shoes, and I had to become that that person that I was craving to have above me. I had to be that for my team. So yeah, those were my two biggest excuses and two of the biggest hurdles that I had to get over. So May 2016 was a really big turning point in my business. I had stumbled to SSC, is the only way I can describe it. I had dragged dead horses. I had, you know, held every single person in my team's hand to get them to a position. And I got to SSC by doing that. And of course, then when I let go of their hands, it all fell apart. So I didn't have a business. I got to SSC and it was like, oh shit, like what now? How the hell am I going to get to Q? Because I don't have a team without holding their hands. So I knew that things had to change. In May 2016, I was in a position where I had to go home for 4 months. So long story short, I basically donated part of my liver to my little nephew, and I moved back to Manchester to do that. And I took 4 months out of my business, like literally completely shut down, and was like, I have to, you know, focus on my health, focus on my nephew's health. That is this part of the journey. And honestly, I didn't realize at the time the impact that that would have on my business, but it was the biggest turning point, because it made me appreciate what I had in this. Because although I was an SSC and I, you know, my business wasn't great, I was earning about $1,400 a month, and it was just enough to pay my rent. So it was enough to just take that little bit of pressure off, so that I could go over there and I could do that, not earn a penny, you know, literally lie in bed for 4 months, but know that my rent and my bills were covered. And it just gave me this new sense of gratitude towards my business, and I missed it so much. So when I was over in England, I was just like, I want to get home. I miss my business. This was before Bombshells. This was, you know, before really having a team. I remember doing a video in my team and sort of telling them that I was going to be taking some time off. No one cared. No one was doing anything. They were like, all right, yeah, see ya. Of course, they were incredibly supportive, but, you know, it wasn't like if I had to take time out now and, you know, there'd be all sorts of bases to cover it. It really wasn't like that, because there wasn't a big team in place. So I went over to England, I did that, and I came back with just this new fire in my belly. And I honestly never realized the impact that that would have, obviously as me as a person, but in my business. I never thought that would make up part of my business journey. I came back and I realized what I had in front of me. You know, I was sick of watching all these people who I now called my friends, the people that I'd been in a business with for 2.5 years, who had flown past me. I was sick of watching them fly whilst I was still sat still, because I was full of excuses, and I just wasn't in action. And that's the key thing. You can have all the excuses in the world, but if you're not going to go out and actually take the action and speak to new people every day and get yourself into a place of massive action, you're just not going to build a business. So I came back, I launched Business Bombshells, which I had a small vision for. I didn't really have the big vision, but I knew that I could create something with it. And I knew that if I really wanted to get to where Emma Snedden and Sinead Kavanagh and all those people that I admired in the business were at, then I had to become that person. And I think that's so key when you look at where you want to be in the business. If you want to be an NMD, are you walking like an NMD? Are you talking like an NMD? Does your action match NMD action? Because you can sit on the couch and say, I want to be an NMD, and I've spoken to one person this month, or you can go out and speak to 100 people this week and get your action happening. So it's really crucial that when we set goals, at the start of the month, I do goal mapping with my girls, and sometimes they're like, I'm going to recruit 20 new people and I'm going to have 2 conversations a day. And I'm like, your action has to match your goals. Like, you have to be in line with what you want to achieve and the level of action that you're willing to take. And that's what it comes down to. How hard are you willing to push this? How hard are you willing to work? Because every single person on this call has the same opportunity, the same products, the same business in front of them, and all it takes is you to drive it forward. So how hard are you willing to drive it forward in order to get to where you want to be? So I got back, launched Bombshells, and I guess from there, that was August 2016. And it wasn't like I launched Business Bombshells, I got into action, and all of a sudden I hit my next promotion. It wasn't like that at all. And this was where I learned a massive lesson. And the lesson was the power of consistency. So I had to be really, really patient. I was having 20 conversations a day. I was sending prices off every day. I was, telling people about the business every day. I was doing 5 lives a week because, that was part of my strategy at the time. I won't recommend that now, it's a bit overkill. But at the time, lives were new, and it was like, let's all do Facebook lives. So I was doing all of these things. I was doing weekly team calls, and I just had to be patient. And at that point, I just believed. I believed that if I really stuck with it and I kept with that level of consistency, that I could get to where I wanted to be. And there'll be so many of you on the call. Like, I had a conversation with one of my girls today who has been having so many conversations every day, and she's just not getting to where she wants to be. But she's only been having so many conversations a day since the start of February. So I've told her that, the work she's doing now in 3 months' time is going to reflect in her paycheck. And if she continues to do this pace, and if she continues to have those conversations every day and really believe in the system and believe in what, your uplines have got in place for you, then it will pay off down the line. But what happens is we put all this effort in for, 2 weeks at a time, nothing happens. So we get sick of it and we drop the ball. We go, well, I've had 20 conversations today and I've not got an order, so I'm not having conversations tomorrow. And then every time you drop that ball, you're right back at the start in terms of picking it straight back up. So remember the power of consistency. And I'm sure it's something that you hear all the time, because it's something I tell my girls all the time: stay consistent, stay consistent, stay consistent. My uplines used to say this to me when I wasn't in action. And I'd just be rolling my eyes like, for God's sake, like, what is with this consistency thing? Why is that so important? But now, honestly, that is the key thing that I can tell you that got me to NMD. Just staying consistent and believing in the system, even when I was having 100 conversations a week and I wasn't recruiting. I was like, okay, this has to pay off. I just have to keep going. This is going to work. I just have to keep going. So yeah, the power of consistency has been huge for me. So I kept consistent from the August, and in the April, I hit QNMD, and then I hit NMD in the September. When did I hit NMD? I should know that. It took me 5 months to hit NMD. So it was like, that was the fast part of my journey. I had all the excuses in the world. And then from the August, I went for it. I didn't hit Q straight away. It took me, 7-8 months to get to Q, even when I was really going for it. And then NMD, that bit of the journey was where it really reflected all the hard work I put in over those months. It showed up between Q and NMD. It didn't show up straight away. It showed up down the line, and it showed up in my numbers. Like, when I got back from surgery, I shared this with my team the other day, I got back from surgery and my pay line, so the money running through my business was 5,500. And exactly a year later, it was 70. So from getting back from surgery and being like, I'm just going to absolutely go for it. Like, there is nothing that these people who are super successful have that I don't have. Like, I can do this, you know, that really reflected a year later. So what are you willing to sacrifice? How hard are you willing to work for a year? Because that year transformed my life. I can't even tell you how much that changed my life. So, you know, you have to think, if you gave it everything from today, if today was your, I'm just going to do this, I'm just going to go for it, where could you be in a year's time? You know, how hard are you willing to work for that year, so that in a year's time, you can be doing a team call as an NMD and sharing your journey of, you know, you kicked in, you went for it, and a year later, this is where you're at. Can you guys hear me? Give me a nod. I've got your internet connection is unstable.
We can hear you, babe.
You can hear
perfect.
me? Okay,
yeah, it's all perfect.
You're all frozen. I'm like, oh, can I hear me? Okay, perfect. And so when I was in that period of action, I went to Christine Drummond's 100 Club party. So Christine and Fee had a joint 100 Club party on the Gold Coast, and I was lucky enough to be invited. And it was about 8 weeks after I got back from being in England for surgery, and I got invited to this 100 Club party. And I remember listening to Christine share how it took her 5 years to hit 100 Club. And I was stood next to one of my friends, and he's one of my mentors in the business, and he kind of nudged me, and he was like, imagine 5 years to 100 Club, like that's pretty cool. And I really in that moment thought, do you know what, 5 years of my life, give up 5 years of my life to absolutely work my arse off, to be earning a phenomenal amount of money, to change so many lives, to change my life, you know, beyond measure, is just so worth it. So I think whenever you look at this business, I always encourage my girls not to look at, you know, how fast can you do it? It's not necessarily about speed. It's about, you know, how hard you're willing to work, what you're willing to put in, and that will reflect in how fast you do it, because, you know, we talk about that a lot. So what can you do in a year? Basically, it took me a year from going for it to get into, just over a year from going for it to get into NMD, and that year completely transformed my life. So really think about, you know, where could you be a year from now? So that's my story. In terms of like some top tips for you guys, and, you know, a few things that I do in my business, what I aim to do each month personally. So I, every single month, aim to recruit 10 new frontline. That's always my goal. 10 is my minimum. And for the girls in my team who are pushing for promotions and they want to hit those promotions, I say to them that, you know, if you're not recruiting 5 a month, you're really not building. And this is if you build your business on social media. So my business, I've built 1,000% on social media. As I said, I didn't know anyone when I got to Australia. So I went out and I added 5,000 Aussie babes on Facebook, and I made friends with them. And that's how, you know, I've built my business. So if your strategy is recruiting on social media, you have to go high with your numbers, because not everyone is going to get it, and not everyone's going to connect with you like when you're recruiting face to face. It's very different. So I had a call with one of the NMDs the other day, and she's just kind of switched her business over to social media, and she was like, I've recruited 7 and only 3 of them speak to me. I was like, yeah, that's great, that's good ratio, keep going. And you kind of have to get into that mentality with social media, because not everyone's going to get it. So yeah, 10 for me is a minimum with, you know, where I want to be in my business. My 5-year anniversary is next April, and I'm so determined to be 100 Club by then. So if I'm not recruiting over 100 people this year into my business, I'm not going to get there. So really hold yourself accountable and hold yourself to a high standard when it comes to recruiting within your business, is a massive piece of advice for me in terms of growth. Don't rely on anyone. So I had a conversation with one of my girls today, and she was like, I've got a girl joining on Friday, and I've got a girl joining on Tuesday, and I've got a prems next Wednesday. And these are people that, you know, she's had great conversations with, and they've said, I'm going to join the business, but they're not necessarily people that, you know, she's got details on. And what I always say to my team is, if those people join, that's fantastic. If they don't, you're going to be so disappointed, and you've already counted them into your 2 out of 5 for the month. So you think you're ahead, and then when they don't join because life happens, you're the one that ends up disappointed. So try and focus on, if someone says, yes, I'm going to join in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, fantastic, but you still need your 5 for the month, or whatever that number is that you set for yourself. And that's really key, guys. Like, it's the number that you set for yourself. So mine is 10 because my goal is huge. If you want to earn $500 a month and this is your hobby and you love it, you know, your numbers don't have to be so crazy. This is your business. You do it on your terms. So make sure that, you know, your goals and your numbers match. You don't have to go and do 10 if this is your sideline hustle and you just want to, you know, earn a bit of extra cash each month. So yeah, don't rely on anyone in your business. Don't rely on anyone joining your business, because you will end up being disappointed. So that's a massive thing that I say to the girls. Like, the only thing you do by not relying on people is end up further ahead than where you thought you might in the business, which is, you know, always great. What else did I want to talk about? Being teachable. So being teachable for me has been absolutely key. I was not teachable at all in the first 2.5 years. People would say to me, you know, like, you've got to be consistent. I touched on this before. You've got to go out and be consistent in your business. And I would just roll my eyes at them and I wasn't interested. If there are people within your business, which there clearly are, because, you know, you've got 2 gorgeous NMDs mentoring you, people in your business that you respect, that you would love to have a business like they have, listen to what they're doing, listen to what they're saying, listen to what they're teaching you. The more questions, and when I say questions, I don't mean like, what's the office phone number? I mean like intelligent questions that are gonna, you know, push your business forward. The more questions you can ask these people, the more hungry you stay, the more active you are within your team chats and things like that, the further you're going to get in your business. So for me, John Holowati is a big mentor for me in my business, and I'm very lucky to have him there. And literally anything he says is gold, because he's a 600 club, and I'm like, okay, he knows what he's doing. So really plug into those people that inspire you and that, you know, you consider to be super successful in your business. And yeah, just stay super teachable and stay really consistent. So I have a few other things that I can touch on, but I guess I'd probably prefer to open it up to questions for you guys so that you get what you want from me, because I can talk about Instagram, I can talk about creating a culture and things like that, but like, what do you guys want to hear? If you want to pop it in the chat, can you touch on the belief behind that, etc.? Belief behind, sorry, I went off on a tangent.
sorry babe, I wrote it and I hit enter too quickly. I want to share this, and Naomi, if you want to add in any questions after. When you talk about, by the way, that was amazing. Thank you so much. You know, we set these goals for ourselves of how many people we want to recruit into the business and recruit as customers. And 10 can actually be a scary number, because a lot of us who join the business work full time, or, you know, we feel as though we can't put a lot of time into this business, which we know you can do it in part-time hours. So where did you, from when you decided that I'm hitting 10 is my number, and I'm sure at the start you may have been a bit like, oh, that's like a stretch goal. Where did you have that shift, or how did you work on that belief to be like, you know, 10 is a walk in the park?
Yeah,
of
course. I honestly just got sick of my own BS in my head. Like, I was so sick of telling myself that 10 was too many. Like, the amount of conversations that I had to have in order to do 10 was literally giving up an hour of trash TV a night. So like, Dre's in the lounge watching Married at First Sight. I'm really jealous, I'm not gonna lie, guys. But, you know, that was my sacrifice, and I had to be willing to sacrifice in order to get to where I wanted to be. So I guess, you know, I have so many girls in my team that work full time, and here's a great example. So I've got a girl in my team who's just joined. I think she's been in the business, like, don't quote me, like 21 days. She's about to go SC. She works full time. She's pregnant with twins, 32 weeks pregnant with twins. And she just does not have a single excuse. She's just so driven. She's just got this like insane vision of where she wants to be in her life, that she just goes to work every day. And I think, you know, we all have the same amount of hours in the day, and it does come back to how much you really want it. And I guess we all have these like aha moments in the business, and for me it was coming back from surgery, and I just got sick and tired of my own excuses. Like, I realized that, you know, I didn't want to be that girl anymore who would go for brunch with her friends and be like, oh, I'm not going to eat because I'm not hungry, when really I wasn't going to eat because I couldn't afford an avocado toast. Like, that's where I was at in my life. Like, I was modeling and I was doing this part-time, and I lived invoice to invoice. And if I didn't get my invoices in on time, I had no money. And, you know, I was just sick of that. Like, I was 23, 24 at the time, and I was just ready for more in my life. So I guess my pain threshold got high enough where I was like, I want to be able to live the kind of life that I want to live. I want to fly home twice a year and spend time with my family in England. And I'm sick of saying, I want, but I'm not willing to work for it. Like, I didn't want to be that person. I'd never really been lazy in any other aspect of my life. And yet I was being lazy in my business. So I guess if you have a vision and you know what you're working towards, it puts you to work every single day, and your 10 becomes less scary. Because if recruiting 10 means hitting your dreams and, you know, being able to live just this life that's freaking crazy, guys, like, it's mad. I wake up every day and I'm like, oh, what should I do today? I'm just going to design my dream day. Like, it's awesome. And every single person on this call can create that life with a bit of hard work. So I guess I kind of got out of a place of being afraid of hard work and into a place of, I'm just going to get into action. And once you get into action, it's a lot less scary. So I always say to the girls, there's nothing that 3 new frontline can't fix. So if you're in a place in your business where you feel like, I can't recruit, I can't grow, just go and find 3 new babes. Whether it takes you 6 weeks, whether it takes you 2 months, just go and find 3, and it will ignite that fire back into your business. Because I guarantee one of them is going to have a bit of a spark. One of them is going to jump on team calls with you. One of them is going to want to go for a coffee with you and chat about their goals. And that's all it takes. It just takes that one new person who's got a bit of fire to reignite your fire. So yeah, that's something that John taught me early on in my business, and that I can pass on to you guys, is that, you know, if you're ever in a place of flatlining in your business and you feel like nothing's growing, there's nothing that 3 new frontline can't fix. Sorry,
I love that. That's amazing. Yeah, I think you may have had from Tennille.
Yeah, do you mention... Yeah, so Instagram is how I've built my entire business. It's not for everyone, and honestly, I'd only do what I do if Instagram's a strategy for you. So when you hear NMDs talk about what they do in the business, you don't need to go and have an authority group, do Facebook Lives, do Instagram, do Twitter, do this, you don't need to do all of them. You just need to work out what works for you. And if Instagram works for you, fantastic. For me, I'm quite creative naturally, so I love creating original content. I love posting pretty pictures on Instagram. Like, it's quite funny. One of someone in head office once said to me, "You'll never build a business posting pretty pictures on Instagram." And I'm like, like, and that's, you know, that's been a big part of my story, because that's exactly what I've done. So I post pretty pictures on Instagram and I network my arse off. So if someone comments on a picture on Instagram, I reply to it. If someone likes, I pop them a message and I relationship build with them. I'm not messaging randoms and saying, do you want to buy the capsules? By any stretch of the imagination am I doing that. But what I'm doing is creating friends. So when I'm posting general content, because I'd say only 1 post in 8 is anything to do with we are hiring or anything along those lines. Everything else is just adding value, adding free value to these people's lives so that they want to follow me, so that we build trust, we build rapport. And then when I do I'm looking for girls to join the team, it goes off, because I've made so many new friends. So Instagram is an incredible platform if you are willing to go to work. It's not a platform I recommend when people don't have a lot of time, because you really do have to spend your time going through, liking people's posts, interacting with people, and making new friends. But if you spend an hour a night on Instagram and that's your main strategy, and you're having new convos every night and making new friends every day, then you can 100% do it on Insta. It's how I've built my entire business. So as an example, I had shingles at the start of this month, which is crazy. Like, who gets shingles? I'm not a 90-year-old woman, but I was really unwell, really run down. Like, I think month end just killed me. I don't even know why. It wasn't even a particularly crazy month end, but I was really run down. I got back from England, got shingles, long story short. So the first 2 weeks of this month have not been massive action for me, and that's not normal. Like, normally I'm very consistent with massive action, but I had to take a break. And I woke up this morning and I was like, oh God, I've recruited 1 person this month so far, and we've got 9 days left because it's such a short month. And I was like, well, I'm not going to hit 10, am I? That was like the first thing I told myself this morning. And then I was like, no, you know what? I'm going to switch off and I'm going to recruit a heap of new babes today. I'm going to go and do it. And I did. From 9 o'clock this morning, I sat at my desk until I just jumped on this call, and I recruited 3 new babes on Instagram today, because I had the mindset of, I'm going to go to work and I'm going to do it. I'm going to just have as many conversations as I need to have to, get to be back on track within the month. And now I know that I can do my 10 within this month. So Instagram's phenomenal for having a lot of conversations and having really direct conversations that I find I can't have on Facebook. I can get to the point a lot quicker on Instagram than I can on Facebook. So it's a massive part of my strategy, and it's just a great way to constantly connect with new people without having to delete people off Facebook and, you know, constantly send friend requests and things like that. But like I opened with, you know, if it's not part of your strategy, please don't come off this call and go and build an Instagram account. Just stick with what you're doing if it's working for you. You know, it's not for everyone, but if you've got a bit of a following, if you're already kind of doing it, just commenting on people's posts, liking people's posts, connecting with people, replying to all your messages, following people who follow you back, and just generally being a nice person is how to build a business on Instagram. Are there any more questions there? I can't see any more, but did you have any more for me, Kim or Naomi?
I was just going to say that I think what's really exciting, you know, hearing you talk about your journey and, you know, like getting into that massive action, is that it's a reminder that we all do have that same vehicle in this business and the opportunity is the same. And it's just that, you know, what really is possible in this. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you're willing to do it, anything is possible. There is no like, oh, that's too much or too high, or, you know, that's out of grasp. Like, anything is literally possible, because I think that so often we go, oh, 3 to 5 customers this month, like that's such a huge number, and we celebrate that. But, you know, it's almost putting limiting beliefs on what we can actually achieve in this, you know. So a lot of the people on the call at the moment are mums and stay-at-home mums that, you know, haven't ever really had to put themselves out there. So do you have any advice, you know, for people that might have fear around, you know, being social in that way? Do you know what I mean? Like, that it can be a big step for some people. So, you know, what would you say is something that is, you know, really that you might tell your girls that have fear around certain areas of really putting themselves out there, because it is kind of like your life on display kind of, you know, thing with this business. So
yeah, 100%. And it's funny because people, you know, jump on my team calls now, for example, like my new girls that join the team, and they think that I was always, you know, super confident on team calls and stuff like that. I used to go onto my team calls thinking I was going to throw up because I had to speak to 3 people. I was so terrified, guys, of sharing and saying something wrong and, you know, just not knowing what was right to say. So I completely relate to that. And when my upline signed me up to the business, I was like, yeah, I'll do it, but I'm not posting on social media because I don't want people to think I'm an idiot. That's the first thing I said to her. She was like, okay, great. So, you know, don't always think that people who, you know, use social media now or put themselves out there, or who you might see as being super confident within the business, were always that way. It's a journey and it's baby steps, and it's totally okay for it to be baby steps. And I think, you know, I'm grateful that my journey took me a little bit longer than the people in the UK who hit NMD in 3 months, because if I'd hit NMD in 3 months, it would have crumbled. I was not ready. I had not grown as a person. I wasn't a leader. I was like this. I was 22. I was this timid 22-year-old and have a clue what I was doing. I certainly wasn't ready to lead a team, but I had to grow into it. So I had to go out there. I had to do the personal development. I had to push my comfort zone just a little bit at a time. And each time I pushed it just that little bit, it was growth. Like, Simon Mitchell told me to do a live for 5 months before I got on a live because I was so terrified. Like, you go back and watch my first live, I am shaking, literally, like shaking. I was so scared. But once you do it once and then you do another one and you do another one, it just gets easier. And I think you have to be willing to push yourself just a little bit at a time in order to get to where you want to be. And I think if you've got your vision and you truly believe in what you can achieve with this business, then those little baby steps of pushing yourself are what will get you there. I completely understand feeling overwhelmed, feeling like, you know, this is scary. I don't ever want to stand on stage at conference and do that. Yeah, neither do I, guys. Trust me. But, you know, just those baby steps and you will get there. So I think the best thing about this business is that absolutely anyone can be successful. And that's why I chose to build on social social media. You know, I didn't want to be out there doing events and having to speak in front of 50 people. That was terrifying. But I could sit behind my Instagram account and speak to people. I could do that. I could manage that. And, you know, for you mommies that are on the call, speaking to people that are in a similar situation to you're in. So if you've got a newborn, for example, speaking to newborn mummies, and connecting with people who are in a similar stage of life as you're in is a lot less overwhelming than, you know, trying to connect with the whole world. So really identifying your tribe and just having those conversations on a daily basis with people in your walk of life is a lot less terrifying than having to go out and speak to the absolute world. So I guess just break it down. Don't ever think that, you know, the people that you see that are NMD now, Linda Everden is my favorite example of that. Like, when I met Linda, she wouldn't say boo to a goose. She was so timid and she really didn't have a clue what she was doing. It took her, you know, 4 or 5 years to really find her feet. And now you look at her and she's just this absolute powerhouse. And, you know, she tells that story herself, but she had to grow into that. So don't doubt the growth that you will go through in this business, because it's a journey and it's something that, you know, if you invest time into personal development, if you're willing to grow, if you're willing to learn and you're willing to push forward, you can absolutely kill it. No matter if you're the biggest extrovert in the world or the biggest introvert, this business is for everyone and absolutely everyone can be successful.
I love it. Thank you so much. That was absolutely amazing. Yeah, we will have to wrap it up there because we have 3 minutes remaining. But seriously, Sophie, we are so freaking grateful to have you sharing your wisdom and knowledge with us. I've absolutely loved watching you grow. We've joined, I'm pretty sure we joined in the same month, and we must have, it's 4 years this month. So, oh, it's epic. And we love you so much. So yes, thank you. And can everyone give Sophie a big love heart or a big wave, or you can take yourself off mute if you like and say thank you. I might just finish the recording.